Are you prepared to stand trial and profess your guilt or innocence before the Seven?
We need to trust each other. We have so many enemies now.
The Freys and the Lannisters send their regards.
What do you want?
I thought you knew what I wanted.
Tell him what you did to her. Tell him!
Are you afraid? Good. You're in the great game now. And the great game is terrifying.
Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Game of Thrones finale trailer video. Just careful for spoilers for everything that's happened on the show so far. So here we go. The funny thing that happened this season is that HBO at a certain point for the last couple of episodes stopped releasing information, synopsis, but eventually we learned the synopsis for the finale is just Cersei faces her trial. Very simple. Obviously there's a whole lot more going on, and we see that from the trailer. They're using the finale to wrap up all the big ongoing storylines from this season and tee up what's going to be happening next season. So just kind of moving the chess pieces around the board on Westeros, because that's where most people are going to be. The end of episode 9 is Daenerys is leaving Meereen makes it sound like she's not planning on coming back anytime soon. Tell everyone what Daenerys did when she came to Meereen, and don't try to go back to your slavers' ways. So it was like Tyrion was giving the great master that they left alive a warning. If you don't uphold the terms of your surrender, no more slavery, we'll come back with the dragons. So it seems like the action for the final 2 seasons, I mean, as far as we know, there's going to be a season 7 and a season 8, will take place in Westeros, and obviously moving closer and closer to the north, wherever the Night King's army happens to be. And the really interesting thing about this trailer too is this reverse red wedding that they're teasing with Jaime's character, just like he could not give a shit about Walder Frey. The Lannisters and the Freys send their regards. Just this really horrific twist on the red wedding. So if you've ever hoped for a Jaime redemption, this is the moment to hope for, a reverse red wedding. Catelyn Stark sends her regards. But on the flip side of that, Cersei's character, there was so much teasing of Cersei's storyline in episode 9. It was so funny. So in the first 5 minutes of the episode, Tyrion specifically mentions the wildfire that's hidden all over King's Landing, the story that Jaime told him about the Mad King. So he's like, Daenerys, don't burn these cities, don't be like your father. We don't want to go that far. I want to suggest an alternative approach. But it seems like Cersei isn't going to listen to that kind of reason. So she is going to do what Daenerys had planned to do. Whoa, you are going full Mad Queen. So it seems like Cersei's going to have her Mad Queen moment because there is a big hidden cache of wildfire underneath the Great Sept. And that's where most of the action for her storyline is going to take place. But as I've mentioned before, Cersei is the protagonist of her own storyline, and we're viewing all this King's Landing stuff through her eyes. So don't you feel like the wildfire is her out, she'll come away with the big victory, but there'll be so much collateral damage, and so many good people will die, that she'll seem like a villain. So the show's really ambiguous at times about what's good, what's evil. It's really all about people's motivation, the things that they fight for, how compelling their characters are. So while there is a couple really big villains on the show right now, there's the Night King, there's Euron Greyjoy, who's going to be a pretty fantastic villain, and then there's Cersei Lannister. I will argue that Cersei Lannister is going to be the best human villain on the show after this season. And like I said, the finale is kind of intended to create some context for where the next season is going to pick up. I think if anyone is going to have the job of taking Cersei down, it should be Jaime. So you could tie that into Maggie the Frog prophecy, Valonqar. But I think the idea with that, like if you're just going by the TV show's version, which is a slightly simpler version that the book did, they didn't really do the Valonqar on the TV show. But Maggie the Frog was telling Cersei that all these terrible things were going to happen to her. But I think what the finale is going to show us is that she is going to have brung about all those terrible things. Like ultimately, she'll be the cause of her own downfall, the death of all her children. So the Maggie the Frog prophecy is kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, at least in the context of the TV show. It's a little more complex in the books. But what about Sansa and Littlefinger? I know a lot of people were confused about her actions going into the Battle of Winterfell. Like, why didn't she tell Jon about the alliance that she'd formed with Littlefinger? And what is the price that he's going to extract from this? Like, she just didn't get all those soldiers for free. So logically, I think what Littlefinger's plan is to marry her to Sweet Robin so that he can control both of them. Sansa isn't quite as controllable as Sweet Robin. Sweet Robin's kind of a human potato, just like Tommen. You can pick them up and put them wherever you want them. They'll do whatever you want them to do. So Littlefinger firmly has the forces of the Vale under his thumb. And I think now with this alliance with Sansa, he'll have the forces of the North under his thumb too. but not necessarily in a sinister way. I think if he had his way, he would put Sansa on the Iron Throne with Sweet Robin. He would become the new Hand of the King and by proxy control the Seven Kingdoms. But the problem is if Cersei blows up half of King's Landing with wildfire, there really isn't going to be an Iron Throne. And I think Daenerys is probably going to realize that that isn't the ultimate goal when she gets to Westeros too. So I think the Iron Throne will become less of a priority, and it'll be more about uniting the Seven Kingdoms against this bigger threat of the Night King. What about Jon Snow Tower of Joy reveal? Like, why would the show wait that long? I mean, it's a great fan moment. It's a bit of fan service because we've been expecting it for so long. But why would the show save this for the very end? Well, if you think about what Cersei's doing, if Tommen's collateral damage and there is no king, then there's no leadership. And right now, Jon Snow, now that he has defeated Ramsay, he probably isn't too sure what he's going to do. It's not like he's going to take the black again. So I think the reveal is meant to tee up Jon Snow having a higher purpose in the grand scheme of things. Like, he's like, what am I supposed to do with my life now? I'm part of some giant prophecy. So I think the TV show might give him some of the Aegon storyline from the books that it cut out. Just someone, as Varys says, with the right name and someone that the people love. So think about what Jon Snow has done. Even Ramsay was like, I've heard stories about you and the great things that you've done. So that's probably going to spread across the Seven Kingdoms. People will hear about the awesome things that Jon Snow has done. So maybe, fan fiction here, Varys will try to rope him into the Targaryen restoration. But what about Bran's storyline? He's going to be facing the Night King at the Wall. I think we're going to see him activate some of his new powers that he hasn't played around with as the new last Green Seer. So I think we're going to see Bran do some really cool stuff, and they'll do a pretty good job of foreshadowing what's going to be happening with the Night's King next season. Tyrion talking about the wildfire, like specifically mentioning wildfire underneath Baelor's Sept in episode 9, is a good example of how the show just like slaps you in the face with stuff that it's going to be doing in the future. So I think they're going to do a good job of that in episode 10. You'll have a really good idea for what's going to be happening in the first couple of episodes next season. So I'll say there's a new round of the giveaway this week. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. I'll announce the winner when I post my Q&A video in like another day or two. But I also wanted to say what's going to be different about this year. Obviously the finale is called Winds of Winter, but Winds of Winter, the book, is supposed to come out sometime. It might not come out till the end of the summer, but when it does, I will do videos about book things so we can compare some of the moments like the Hodor, hold the door moment. They said that the way that's going to play out in the books is going to be very different. So I'll do videos like that whenever that book comes out, but that might not be for a couple more months. So the bonus videos I do for the TV show will depend a lot on what you guys want to talk about. And then whenever the book drops, we can talk about book stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. There's a whole bunch of really cool book stuff that the show's never going to have time to touch. But this week, we'll have a lot of fun talking about how the show is metaphorically burning down the practices of the old way of doing things to make way for the new, and then how it's literally burning things down, like Daenerys burning the cows, and then hopefully seeing wildfire burn down a lot of King's Landing. So while you guys wait for my next video to post, you can click here for last night's episode 9 video, and you can click here for a Tower of Joy refresher. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.